My name is Reverend Dr. Devereaux Lloyd, and I've lived in this community for 18 years. I currently work and pray in this community, and I've done so for 33 years. As a social scientist, I subscribe to a code of ethics wherein no harm to human subjects shall be performed, either wittingly or unwittingly, directly or indirectly, as a result of my field studies. As a school principal, I operate with the same level of integrity and protection for those whom parents have placed in my trust, in my care, and under my leadership. As the principal of a Christian school, I am cognizant that in order to be successful in the Chula Vista community, I must navigate with a pluralistic understanding. We chart paths in sacred and secular traditions in pursuit of both academic and spiritual excellence. Even within these realms, there are limits within the which we would be wise to remain. I believe a key to successful navigation is maintaining balance. Some might term this method of navigation as tolerance. Exceeding these limits could be considered extreme and offensive. When we are talking about teaching, training, and instructing our children, it would behoove us to exercise caution and to remain within parameters that conscribe acceptability. It is widely known and accepted that children are moldable during their formative years. To introduce concepts that are considered by many as being incisive, divisive, and questionable at best should be avoided. Prudence suggests that we, as leaders, pursue paths that condone balance, paths that can be stomached or received by the majority of our community. At this point, I would like for us to carefully consider the word wholesome. Webster's Collegiate Dictionary defines wholesome in part as sound in body, mind, and morals. Each of us has desires and interests. These interests might be personally acceptable, but not necessarily wholesome. To introduce to impressionable children practices, habits, and lifestyles that are personally acceptable but not necessarily wholesome exceeds the parameters within which we should peaceably navigate, thus causing great strife and hurt, and ultimately bring us to where we are today. I have my own personal views, but as a professional working in this community, I realize that tolerance by all is mandatory for us to exist with civility. Further, respect for one another is indispensable and non-negotiable. My rights and/or beliefs should not be forced on anyone. Similarly, the rights and/or beliefs of others should not be forced upon me or upon defenseless children. Therefore, I believe that the drag queen story hour would not be an appropriate or wholesome expression of our community, and as such, should be canceled. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexandra Motes. I'm a lifelong resident of Chula Vista. I also received my attended Chula Vista High, class of 1983. I received a master's in social work from San Diego State University. I am also a trained CPS, Protective Services social worker. Today I stand before you as a parent, as part of the Hispanic community, but mostly as a social worker. And as a social worker, I can tell you that I am aghast that city officials and many adults find acceptable age-inappropriate interaction of minors with adult entertainers. It's reprehensible for a publicly funded institution to present inappropriate life choices which the Center of Disease Control has reported with disproportionate statistics of drug use, prostitution, domestic violence, STDs, and sadly, suicide.
Yes.
And they're presenting them to children who are not developmentally ready to receive this type of information, which can also be detrimental to their health and to their psychological development. Not to mention that it blurs a child's natural instinct to protect herself from would-be predators who can use similar techniques to groom for sexual exploitation. As a CPS-trained social worker, I was instructed to protect all children, not just mine, from harm, from all types of harm, including negligent adults. Allow me to give you a child's perspective. A child's mind is concrete. She thinks in terms of black and white. There are no gray areas in her mind. So when an official institution such as her public library sanctions as safe and the adults in her life present drag queen adult entertainers as acceptable, in her psychological makeup, any person dressed in a similar way becomes a safe person, whether that person is safe or not. If indeed that person is not a safe person for a child, a psychological tug of war begins between her natural instinct to protect herself and being nice, because the safe adults in her community sanctioned it. She now doubts her instincts and will do so most of her life. The task of every adult sworn to serve and protect our children, our community's children, has just become insurmountable. As safe adults, we should be confirming her instincts, not confusing them. In social work, there is a term describing a person who encourages destructive behavior in dysfunctional dynamics. The term is enabler. By sanctioning self-destructive behavior, our city officials and the safe adults who find this acceptable, knowingly or unknowingly, are becoming enablers.
Yep.
I recommend caution to every parent considering allowing their child to participate in this event. And I caution our city officials and all the safe adults in our community against allowing unprotected children to cross the safety zone. This is not age appropriate. This is not safe. I will repeat this in Spanish.